Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Woodman, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will wrap up this video set series on inclusive leadership by providing a recap of it. Throughout this video set series, we analyze how you can be an inclusive leader in any space you go to by incorporating specific inclusion skills that will help you create and enhance an inclusive environment where you and everyone else can thrive together. We talked about how inclusion is essential in all spaces because belonging is fundamental to human well-being and collaboration. It ensures that nobody is alone and they know they are part of a community that makes a positive difference in society. We explained how inclusive leadership requires self-reflection, discomfort, growth, and consistent action, including recognizing biases, supporting marginalized voices, using privilege responsibly, and fostering authenticity and trust. Everyone has the power and responsibility to be an inclusive leader, meaning that it is not limited to you having an official leadership title in an organization. We all have a role to play in standing up against exclusion and building a more just, welcoming society. This video set series referenced the 4 stages of the Inclusive Leader Continuum: unaware, aware, active, and advocate. From Jennifer Brown's book, How to Be an Inclusive Leader, Your Role in Creating Cultures of Belonging Where Everyone Can Thrive. We went over how the 4 stages work, what behaviors and mindsets shaped it, and how people can use these steps to take action in their day-to-day lives to bring more inclusion. Let's go over what we learned from these 4 steps. In the first phase, unaware, this focuses on how good intentions alone are not enough to create inclusion. People who have not personally experienced exclusion may overlook inequities or question whether it is their place to act. A core challenge of this stage is understanding intent versus impact, where believing oneself to be fair or well-intentioned without taking meaningful action allows the status quo to persist. This is hoping that change will happen on its own. Moving out of the unaware stage requires humility, accountability, and a willingness to learn new things about people and systems. Inclusive leaders admit they are not perfect all the time, accept feedback from people, do not rush decisions and take their time to make reasonable ones, and avoid behaviors like defensiveness or splaining. Rather than trying to be right, they choose curiosity, listening, and reflection. Conscious and unconscious bias keeps people stuck in the unaware stage. Bias shapes how we judge others and ourselves, which often leads to flawed assumptions, confirmation biases, and overestimating our effectiveness at inclusion. Addressing bias begins with awareness of certain issues, open dialogue on what needs to be changed, and non-accusatory conversations focus on improving ourselves rather than blaming one person. To grow, inclusive leaders must actively question limiting internal statements that hold them back in the stage, reflect on personal biases, seek diverse perspectives, and broaden their social circles with genuine curiosity. Some practical steps to get diverse perspectives include engaging with different communities, consuming diverse media, asking thoughtful questions to people, and becoming a better listener by showing respect, allowing others to speak, and challenging assumptions. Becoming an inclusive leader starts with recognizing blind spots and committing to consistent learning and action. Progress depends on transforming awareness into impact so people feel truly valued, respected, and included. In the second phase, aware, it focuses on staying open and curious to perspectives that may be unfamiliar or uncomfortable, recognizing that awareness is not a one-time thing, but something leaders come back to as they encounter new identities, communities. Individuals examine how their identities, life experiences, and circumstances, both advantages and disadvantages, have shaped who they are and how they navigate the world. A key focus is understanding privilege, defined as access to advantages not equally available to others. Acknowledging privilege does not negate hard work or personal struggle. Instead, the whole point of understanding privilege is to see what influences specific groups of people to have more resources than other people, as well as how each group of individuals are perceived by society. For stories of origin, this is where individuals reflect on their experiences of adversity, exclusion, realization, or growth, and how those things shaped the individual's life stories. These stories help inclusive leaders connect with others through empathy and better understand inequality. We talked about bias in this phase. Since bias is universal and neurologically ingrained in our brains, the goal is not eliminating bias, but recognizing and correcting bias. We talked about how we should not treat inclusion as a quick fix, but approach it like a crime scene, where we carefully examine the root causes, history, and impact of an issue before rushing to solutions. It takes time to fully understand what solution is best for everyone, so we should not rush anything. In the third phase, active, it emphasizes that meaningful inclusion does not produce instant results. Progress requires patience, persistence, and building skills over time. Inclusive leaders must resist quick fixes, not let slow progress stop them from being motivated, and be compassionate with themselves as they grow. This phase involves deciding where, how, and with whom to act based on personal energy, comfort, and capacity. Action can begin by supporting others' efforts, share the workload, and gradually becoming more visible and advocating for inclusion. Some practical examples include amplifying underrepresented voices, creating space for others at decision-making tables, and giving credit and recognition to those voices. We talked about mentoring and sponsoring people, especially in civic and political life. Mentors provide guidance while sponsors actively advocate for others when they are not present. We explain how a lack of access to mentors and sponsors often keeps people outside inner circles, which limits their ability to meet certain decision makers, to influence important decisions, or gain access to specific resources. Building intentional, inclusive mentoring and sponsoring networks is an impactful way to address representation gaps, so people know there is someone directly looking out for them. Inclusive leaders should also examine who they currently mentor or sponsor and intentionally expand their support to people of different backgrounds. When you do your outreach to people, you must create safe, equitable, and accessible mentoring environments so people can feel comfortable talking to you. Remember, you want to be genuine with reaching out to people and not give them an impression you are using them solely for personal gain. To add on to storytelling, we know it is a powerful tool for inclusion. Authentic, vulnerable stories can challenge biases, create empathy, and inspire action. Leaders who share their why for doing certain things, the lessons they have learned, and their growth experiences connect more deeply with others and appear more approachable and trustworthy. It is also important to center diverse storytellers so that we challenge overrepresentation of dominant voices and intentionally amplify underrepresented perspectives. In the fourth phase, advocate, it talks about shifting inclusion from individual action to systemic change. Advocates not only support other people, but also challenge norms, question bias systems, and ask inconvenient questions to level the playing field at work and in society. This stage requires courage, perseverance, strategic thinking, and a willingness to use our power and privilege responsibly to reduce inequities. Advocates understand that many hands make lighter work, so they focus on building up coalitions, engaging those in power, and aligning efforts for maximum impact. While one-on-one support remains important, true advocacy addresses institutional structures that perpetuate inequality. Advocates seek input from those most affected by exclusion, ensuring they are making this a collective effort. Advocates go beyond private and small spaces into broader conversations that can influence policy, culture, and systems. Signs of being in the advocate stage include not tolerating the status quo, noticing when exclusion is occurring, being comfortable with having difficult conversations, being open to feedback, committing your time and resources to make systemic change, and focusing on the impact rather than only seeking publicity. Advocates focus on a systems approach by examining workplace processes such as hiring, recruiting, meetings, performance reviews, promotions, and succession planning, and addressing root causes of bias rather than temporary fixes. Advocates research inclusive best practices, partner with colleagues to make sure everyone is on the same page, and push for public commitments from decision makers to make specific changes. Advocates can do this without any formal leadership titles. Advocacy also involves risk. Challenging entrenched systems can lead to pushback, criticism, or ostracism from anyone, often explained by identity protective cognition, where people reject information that threatens their beliefs or identity. Advocates must be resilient, anticipate resistance, and recognize that supportive communities often emerge alongside opposition. To sustain your advocacy efforts, make a clear case for change. Align your champions, who have both formal authority and social capital, to your objectives. And prioritize self-care and emotional resilience so you do not become burned out or demotivated if something does not go as planned. Advocacy is demanding work, but deeply impactful because you get to expand existing communities, build new communities, and create lasting improvements in your community. As an advocate, you combine courage, strategy, and persistence to dismantle inequitable systems, help others thrive in the spaces they are in, and help build a more just and inclusive society. Those are all 4 of the phases of the Inclusive Leader Continuum. These phases can help you understand what steps and actions you need to take to become an inclusive leader in our society. To close things out, we know that being inclusive is going to take some time because it requires us to look deeply at how our institutions function, how people are being treated by them, and how things can be improved. Some of us can easily understand there are some ways to be more inclusive, while others need time to get to that perspective. Because of that, some of us will either start at the beginning of the inclusion journey, in the middle, or towards the end where we are ready to execute some action plans. All of that is okay, as long as we recognize it will take some time to build enough collective power to make systemic change. We also know that not everyone will be on board with increasing inclusion because it can be seen as a threat to the existing status quo that already benefits them. Remember, being inclusive is not about taking all power away from people in charge, but rather leveling the playing field so that everyone in a community and organization can equitably thrive. That is how we have a civically engaged society where everyone belongs here and knows they have a voice to make positive change. To increase our sense of belonging, we all need to become inclusive leaders to uplift and empower each other to sit at the table and express our voices to decision makers. As long as we stick together, we can stand strong together to ensure our communities has diverse representation. This officially concludes the Inclusive Leadership video series. I will be releasing a new video set that goes in depth on another topic in my civic engagement curriculum, Becoming the Changemaker. So please stay tuned for that. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on the post notifications so you will be notified when I post my next video. I appreciate your support. Remember, you are powerful, you are capable, and you are the changemaker our society needs. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you soon.